Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Brendan. Thanks for checking out my channel. Today I wanted to go over renting versus owning. This is a common question for a lot of first-time home buyers and especially younger professionals that are just looking for their first place to live. So today I just wanted to go over the pros and cons of buying versus renting. I know what you guys are thinking. You're saying, Brendan, you're a real estate agent. You're gonna say buy. You're gonna tell us to buy from you. And listen, that's not the case. I really think it's on a case-by-case basis. It's gonna be different for certain people. And I just wanted to kind of go over the different ways to look at owning versus renting. So let's go over the pros of renting first. So not being held down to a certain house or a neighborhood or even state for that matter is appealing to a lot of young people or first-time home buyers, I guess you could say. You know, being able to accept a job offer and move to a different state, or if you meet somebody, it's kind of nice just to say, hey, here's my 30-day notice, I'm moving out. Number two, not being responsible for the home or unit. Home ownership comes with not just mortgage costs, but lots of costs that people don't think about: repairs, maintenance. When your sink is clogged, you call the landlord. When a light bulb goes out, you call the landlord. When your washing machine leaks in the middle of the night, you call your landlord. It's kind of nice having that peace of mind where no matter what happens, you don't have to pay for it, and all you have to do, pick up the phone and call your landlord and they take care of it for you. Number three, the ease of getting up and going. So when you decide to move, you don't have to worry about getting your house ready to be listed. You don't have to interview real estate agents. And probably the biggest help is you don't have to pay for closing costs. There's a lot of fees involved when you're buying or selling a home. When you're renting, you don't have to deal with that. Number four, down payment. Usually when you rent something, they may ask for a month or two up front as a security deposit, but you don't have to come up with 10 or even 20% down, which a lot of lenders will ask for when you purchase a home. So it's nice to be able to save that money and just pay that security deposit. Number five, take that money that you're not using as a down payment on a house. Let's just say you save up 10 or 20%. Take that money and invest it in the stock market. Over the past 100 years, the average for the stock market return is about 8 to 10%. So if you save up $100,000 on a down payment and you invest that into the stock market and you only have to take $2,000 and put it as a deposit on a rental, you can do a lot of things with that extra money to make you even more money. I'm gonna go over a real world example just to give you an idea of how these numbers would break down. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so in this example, we're taking that $80,000 you saved up as a deposit on the home and instead invested it into the stock market where the average return is about 10% a year. So if you take 80,000 times 10%, you're gonna get $8,000 the first year. You're gonna add that to your initial total of 80,000, giving you 88,000. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you're gonna compound it and doing the exact same thing. So your total investment of $80,000 over 7 years is now worth $155,897.36. All right, so we talked about the pros of renting. Now let's talk about the cons. Number one, you're not allowed to make changes to the property. When you own a home, you want to take down a wall or add a bedroom. As long as you go through the permitting process, you can do pretty much whatever you want to. When you're renting, that's not really the case. You're not allowed to knock down walls. A lot of times they don't even want you painting because that's just extra work for the landlord to do when they turn it over and have it ready to be rented by the next person. Number two, renting long term is going to be a lot more expensive. You don't have to deal with the headaches of a home ownership and having to do repairs and maintenance and worry about selling and closing costs, everything that's involved in owning a home, but it is going to be more expensive in the long run. And I'll go over a quick example of that as well. So I did make an assumption that the landlord would not raise rent over a 7-year period, which is probably not realistic, but I wanted to show you a conservative number. So just based off $2,000 a month, 12 months in a year, $24,000 every year for 7 years. So over a 7-year span, you're going to end up paying $168,000 in rent. Number three, Control. You have no control over a property when you rent it. If the landlord decides to sell it and they give you a notice, you have to move out, find something else. If the landlord decides to raise rent, you got to pay whatever he's asking for in rent. So when you own a home, you're not going to have that same situation. You're going to have a payment that's usually locked in, but when you're renting, that's definitely something to consider. If you're looking for stability, renting may not always be that way for you. All right, so let's get into buying. Let's go over the pros. Number one, stability. Nobody's gonna be able to sell the home from underneath you. You're gonna have a fixed mortgage payment that's not gonna change depending on what the landlord decides to do because you own the property. Your payment is usually gonna be a 30-year fixed payment that's gonna stay the same for 30 years. Yes, your taxes and insurance are gonna change a little bit year to year. However, majority of that payment is going to be your principal and interest, and that's not going to change. Number two, personalize. When you own the home, you can pretty much do whatever you want to. If you want to renovate the kitchen and put new cabinets and countertops in there, you can do that. If you want to put a fresh coat of paint on the outside, you can do that. When you're renting, that's probably not an option, but when you own the home, you can make it your own. Number three, appreciation. Let's go over a quick example of what that would look like over a 7-year time period. The reason I'm saying 7 years is that majority of people buy or sell a home every 7 years. So I'm gonna do calculations for renting and owning over a 7-year period. Okay, so for this example, we're gonna do a $400,000 house. The average appreciation is between 3 and 5% a year. So I took the middle number, 4%. So 400,000 times 4% is $16,000. So year two, your house is gonna be worth $416,000. You're gonna do 4% of that, which is $16,640. You're gonna add that to the original $416,000, and now you're at $432,640. You're gonna do the same thing for 3, 4, 5, 6, and year 7. And over the 7-year span, you're gonna have an increase or profit of $126,372.70. Number 4, loan paydown. When you make your mortgage payment every month, there's gonna be 2 portions of it. You're gonna have your interest portion and you're gonna have your principal portion. Everything you pay down in principal goes to repaying that loan or mortgage that you took out with the bank. Every year, you're gonna end up paying more principal than interest. So the way that a home is amortized or your loan is repaid over 30 years, you're gonna pay a lot more interest up front in the first few years, and you're gonna pay more principal in the last few years. I'm gonna show you guys an example now of how that breaks down or what it looks like. So here's an example. As you can see, in the first year, you're paying about $800 a month in interest and about $550 a month in principal. Let's see how that looks in year 30. So if we scroll down to year 30, you'll see you're only paying $43 a month towards interest and $1,300 towards principal, because the way loans work, they front load the interest in case you decide to refinance or sell the home. They want to get that interest up front. So now you can see after 7 years of paying down the loan, the new loan balance is $276,082.36. So based on your purchase price of $400,000, you put 20% down. Your original loan amount was $320,000. You subtract $276.82 from that, giving you a profit of $43,918 after 7 years. And number 5, tax benefits. When you're renting a property, you can't write off your rental payment as a tax deduction. However, if you own the home, you can depreciate the interest. I'm not giving you guys tax advice. I am not a CPA, so please check with your tax advisor. But normally, you can write off the interest you pay on your loan when you do your taxes. If it's an investment property, you can depreciate it. That's a little bit different, and we can get into depreciation in another video. Okay, let's look at some cons of owning a home. Number 1, in the short term, it's a lot more expensive than renting. As we went over in the previous example, for renting, you're usually gonna have a small security deposit, and other than that, there's not a lot of fees involved. However, when you purchase a home, most banks or lenders are gonna ask for between 10 and 20% down. So up front, you're gonna have to come up with a big chunk of change to put down on the mortgage and to purchase the property. So as you own the home, you're gonna have repairs that need to be done. You're gonna have maintenance that needs to be done. There's always gonna be something that comes up that you're probably not thinking about. So keep that in mind. Let's just say 2 or 3 years down the road after you purchase, you get a really great job offer and you have to move to another state. You go to sell your home, you're gonna have realtor fees, you're gonna have attorney's fees, and you're gonna have closing costs for the loan. So there's gonna be a lot of different fees that are involved when you go to sell your home in the short term. And number 2, which I think is the hurdle for most people, you're gonna have a majority of your wealth tied up in your property when you purchase a home. So if you saved up 10 or 20%, you're gonna have that in the home in equity. However, you're not gonna have instant access to it. So instead of being able to use that money to invest in the stock market or start a company or do something else with it, that money is gonna be tied up in your home. So that's really something to consider. All right, there you have it, guys. That is my take on the pros and cons of renting a home versus owning a home. I think it's specific on the person and the situation. So put a comment down below. Let me know if you're renting or owning and what you like about those. And I'll see you next week.